Welcome back to a best of 3 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Terran versus Protoss. We're in game number 1. In the bottom right hand corner, playing with the blue Terran SCVs. We're looking inside of the main base of the Gumi god. It is, of course, none other than GuMiho. Alright, we'll have to keep an eye out on exactly where this SCV decides to go. His opponent in this particular series, playing with the red Protoss pieces from Germany. We're looking inside of the main base of Jumy. Now, lately, I have been posting quite a few videos actually highlighting some lesser known players. I mean, if you cast games, especially for YouTube, it's very easy to only ever, well, showcase the absolute best of the best. But there's no denying that there are a lot of players out there that have been rapidly improving over the years. And I feel like Jumy is one of those names that is here to stay. He's been making rapid improvements since about, I want to say like maybe 2020 or so. And basically improving year upon year. According to Illegal right now, he is currently the rank 46 in the world overall. The rank 4 from Germany. Now, in a lot of countries, being the rank 46 would, well, at the very least make you like top 2, maybe even top 1. Sadly, if you're in Germany, you have guys like, well, Showtime. You have guys like Hero Marine, right? There's a bunch of good players in the German section of the planet. Lambo, of course, also in that group. And Jumy, because of that, may just barely not reach the top 3. But he's very strong, and he's been impressing me quite a bit. Now, apparently we're starting this off with a very GuMiho-esque game. Because we have a proxy barracks, then a proxy factory, and you know what? We may as well also proxy the starport at this rate. Apparently Jumy, though, wants to fight fire with fire by building a pylon right outside of his opponent's natural. Now, I think he did that before he scouted the lack of anything here, so he might reconsider. In the meantime, we already have concussive shells researching here for Jumy, who is basically treating the entire map like his main base. It's kind of beautiful. Some players consider the main base to be the main base. Oh, okay. Honestly, I kind of like that pylon. That pylon is going to make it impossible for GuMiho to wall himself in. Super annoying placement over there. It's going to take a while. So if we do have a couple units going across the map, it wouldn't be very easy here for the Terran to prevent them from going into the main base. Are we actually going to continue the aggression right over here? We may as well. Starport, by the way. I was joking, Jumy. Starport indeed does also get proxied. So we have a barracks, a factory, and then a starport all on the other side of the map. Now, concussive shells is done. It's a little weird to still be pushing here, because usually the idea behind this is we have a proxy gate going up on the other side, is to kill your opponent's natural, right? But there is no natural here, and obviously neither player is expended. So we're trying to fight fire with fire on the both sides of the map. Let's see, do we have enough to push this away? I do believe that eventually the probes and the stalkers are gonna be enough. A new Hellion, though, is gonna pop out. There it is. Probes are hunting this down. In the meantime, that proxy gate is slowly ticking along. Warp gate research is going to complete here in just a second. The probes have now finished up that one marauder. It looks like we're gonna recall, I think, the stalkers. No. Well, the probes and the stalker, actually, as we do want to get them back to mining here ASAP. I don't think that GuMiho knows of the proxy, but he realizes that something fishy may be going on as he does start up a bunker at home. So how do you navigate this now? Well, we have a drop. It's 2 Hellions together with a Marauder going into the main base. Recall is currently on cooldown, and the Stalkers of Jumy are not even remotely close to try and deal with this. Even though he probably would enjoy warping in on the other side of the map right now, Jumy doesn't really have the ability to do so if the Stalkers are out of position. Still, though, he's picking off some of those reinforcing units here for GuMiho, and eventually all of this is going to be pushed away. 5 additional probes did end up going down. GuMiho's still ahead as far as the economy goes, but he's not going to be able to use it here in just a moment if all of his production structures are going down. New barracks are coming up right now at home here for Jumy as we have a Zealot getting warped in just to try and keep all of this going for a little while longer. Additional SCVs also do indeed get pulled for it. Looks like the Stalkers have finished the job. You know what? This Marauder on the other side of the map has now spotted the potential proxy here as well for Jumy. He hasn't really committed to any real aggression yet, but he has now brought a sentry together with a Stalker to the other side. Marauders, though, they have come home in time. Actually, it's just a single Marauder. Looks like one of the Hellions did end up falling there. This is still not an army, though, that can easily be given up. Sentry alone is not going to be able to achieve too much either. Nice bait there, though, on the Sentry. He was hoping that those Terran units would stick around, so maybe the Stalkers could kill the Medevac. Sentry does fall, but after dancing in the main base of the Protoss, now it's time to dance on this side of the map instead. Bunker still, of course, very nice. Command Center also coming up here for Gumi, who is trying to transition away. My question is mostly, does he have enough to be able to, well, get rid of all of these units? I don't think so at this rate. I mean, it's gonna cost him dearly. A lot of the SCVs will go down. Okay, Marauder here. Popped out of the bunker for just a moment. And as the dust settles, this should be an advantage for Jumy, and quite a significant one at that as well. However, he does not have an expansion. So worker-wise, he's going to be fine. Army-wise, he's going to be fine. But will he be able to maintain this advantage as well? Units once more pop out of the bunker. We have the Zealot going down. The Stalkers get picked off too. Man, the workers have been the absolute MVPs so far throughout these games. Oh my god, what in the world? What are we looking at right now, man? Suddenly there's a siege tank. How did that even... Okay, we brought the factory back, landed it on top of the tech lab that was previously meant to be making a Banshee with. I don't believe a Banshee ever spawned, though. No, you had to cancel that. Adept in the meantime at the back of the Terran's main. God, that's weird to suddenly see an unsieged tank doing a little bit of worker harassment. Okay. So, 29 Terran workers have gone down. However, mules are really good, and he does have a second orbital command. I think we have to expand right now as Protoss as well. I don't think you really have another choice. I love that Jumy decides to face off against this type of chaos with more chaos. Generally speaking, not a lot of players enjoy playing that approach, especially against GuMiho, because GuMiho is known for this style. Most people play overly safe against GuMiho, and it's giving him a lot of wiggle room, but Jumy's saying, no, I may be German, but that doesn't mean I play like Showtime. Although Showtime will maybe mix it up as well every once in a while, but Jumy certainly has a little bit of that craziness in him, and it's nice to see. Twilight Council coming up right now, as we now transition towards a good old macro game. Are you kidding me? Did the tank, by the way, ever go home? Yeah, that must be the tank, right? Yeah, it just, okay, killed 3 workers and then drove back home and sieged up in the main base. Fair enough. Jimmy is now scouting as well, so GuMiho really needs to know whether or not the opponent expended. This doesn't look like a particularly important task, but this little marine is going to give GuMiho a ton of information. Knowing that indeed Protoss is not gonna go for a one base all-in, may just, well, at least not a continued one base all-in, may just give him the confidence to bring this command center down towards the low ground. Engineering bay coming up. We've got ourselves the good old stim pack as well, and it looks like we are just gonna transition towards a pretty normal game from here. But how in the world do you navigate it? Well, Jumy has decided that apparently everything here that Terran's gonna do is gonna take forever, so Storm might be an option. It's a... maybe we're gonna go Archon? Archon Zealot? Technically also a choice that you can make. No, I think Storm makes a lot of sense. It's just so freaking powerful ever since that battery recharge thingamajig got removed, right, in favor of the energy recharge. It's so powerful now. Whew, okay, well that was a very action-packed first 8 minutes, 9 minutes or so of this particular game. Now, in case you're not familiar with Jumy, Jumy is a pretty young player still. He's like in his early 20s. He's been playing the game for quite a long time, but not nearly as long as some of the pro gamers that we have been seeing over the years. I mean, GuMiho has been playing this game certainly since Wings of Liberty. I can imagine that somebody like Jumy probably didn't start until Legacy of the Void at soonest, probably quite a few years after the release of it. And he's been, yeah, making progress. He's been making progress, and he's been looking better as time goes by. So certainly a name you do want to go ahead and keep in mind in case you're not familiar with him just yet. Hallucinated Phoenix is gonna get shut down here, but it does spot that the Gumi God is going for another move out. Now, once more, look, the first proxy gate may not have worked out. We've had one proxy gate, yes. What about second proxy? Let's just keep it going, man. Build him on almost the same location, too. I mean, GuMiho's not going to expect that. The one Marine did get denied. Storm is not in position right now, though. But there are Templar available, and he is going to warp in a new one right now. Feedbacks would be good. Yes, gets the feedback, gets the Storm. Probes are, yeah, taking damage. I think with more charge slots, he should be okay. Okay, the Medevacs will stay alive for the time being. This is looking like a good position here, though, right? Like, this spot right here is difficult to break, especially with charge slots, unless you get a big Storm off. Love that missile turret as well, just making it really difficult to zone properly with a warp prism. So instead, we're now bringing it like that, and it looks like the follow-up here for Jumy is, well, not only going to be a proxy, but then also a nexus. As long as Terran doesn't check that side of the map, this proxy can always be used. Widowmine drop coming in as well. Oh, Widowmine drop coming in as well! Okay, wow, he could have done a lot more damage with that. Little slow on the reaction. I don't think that he expected Widowmines here. Storming his own probes just to keep the workers alive. In the meantime, it looks like GuMiho is going to layer on the Chaos with a little medevac drop on the right, and he does force the cancel. And ultimately, all of this is just better for GuMiho. Ah, misplaced Nexus there as well. Unlucky. Okay. When do we go for a big push? That's the question. Do we go for an SCV pool? Nope. Does not look like that will be GuMiho's weapon of choice. He decides to plant down a near 12-minute third Nexus, or command center, inside of the main base. Normally, this would be extremely late. But in a game like this, I mean, everything is all over the place anyway. There is a big push now. Terran is going to see a Zealot running on over here, and, well, Protoss. Oh, there we go. Wait, what is his announcer? So we do have a medevac drop going in. Can we hear the announcer again? Okay, we have no time for it. Storms go down. I think that was Tasteless's voice, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, yeah. There's not enough Protoss here. Plenty of ways to mitigate the splash damage. Nice bit of micro right there by GuMiho. Looks like we do kill one more medevac on our way out, but he just doesn't have enough to sustain this. GG is called. It's the Terran who obtains victory in game number 1. Next up, we find ourselves on Last Fantasy. Now, this map is incredibly chaotic, and these players are incredibly chaotic as well. I've got a feeling we might be in for a little bit of spice. Although, after that previous game, I mean, maybe the players have decided to play something a little bit more conventional. I find it odd to see Last Fantasy make it to a best-of-3 series. This is the type of map that, generally speaking, you play veto chicken over it. So, the way that it works in StarCraft 2, right? Say you're playing a best-of-3 series like these players are, you take turns vetoing maps. Meaning that, like, usually you remove the maps that you don't like or that you have a bad win-loss ratio on, or maybe it's just terrible for the race that you play. You remove those out of the map pool. And this is a map that nobody likes. At least, none of the players seem to enjoy Last Fantasy much. It is a very tricky map. It is pretty claustrophobic too. There's just not a lot of movement. It's a 3-player map. In general, it's difficult to expand on. And usually, because nobody really wants to play on it too much, you don't veto it very early on in the vetoing process, because you make the assumption that your opponent is going to veto the map instead. And sometimes, and I don't know if that's what happened in this particular instance, but sometimes you play veto chicken with your opponent for so long that nobody ends up vetoing it. That seems to be the most common instance for Last Fantasy to actually make it to a best-of-3 series. Because in a best-of-3, I mean, we have a 9-map pool. You get so many vetoes. You can get rid of a lot of the maps. All right. I like that we have it here. Let's see. So, GuMiho not proxying anything this time around, and the same can be said for Jumy. As a matter of fact, he's already gone for a Nexus on the low ground. Not a super crazy Nexus, don't get me wrong. It's actually a pretty standard timing there on it, but compared to the previous game, everything seems early. Okay, we have an Adept coming up. Warp Gates is researching. And a Reaper is already going across the map. I'm expecting a command center. There it is. For GuMiho. Just getting the gases going nice and quickly to make sure that he can actually start up that factory. Nice and early as well. We've got a tech lab on the factory right now too. And the tech lab is gonna allow him to make cyclones here, more than likely. Or maybe we go for another hero siege tank. I mean, that siege tank in the previous game. I don't know if it really added that much, but it looked cool. Siege tank, harass. No, cyclone it will be. Cyclone has a ton of utility, right? It's not only good against, well, everything Protoss in the early game. It's really nice to keep you alive in general, but it's really nice against, like, say, an Oracle opener, but also Adepts. And usually you get at the very least a couple Adepts in the early game of this matchup. Rarely do you get no value out of a Cyclone. Yeah, interesting unit, right? Because it's kind of critical to get if you want to play safe, but at the same time, we rarely see more than one. It's kind of like a Reaper in that instance. Like, Reapers are very important. It's quite uncommon to get 2 of them. Usually we just stick to 1, but look, they're super good at this. The Adepts can't really get away. It's just not possible. As long as you dance and as long as the lock-on is within range, you're gonna be okay. Command Center, though, does get a little orbital command on it, and obviously, with this type of opener, Terran does delay their own expansion for a while compared to the Protoss. So this is a 1-gate expand here for Jumy. Whereas GuMiho, I mean, obviously delayed it. Oh, that is a lovely bit of micro right there by the Terran. Yeah, this could snowball really quick. Obviously, that Cyclone can now, well, get more damage done as well. Getting a single Stalker there after the Adept is really, really quite good. Blink is coming up. The thing about Blink openers is, in general, you can end the game with them, but you have to play a very clean start. And just losing a single Stalker is the opposite of that. You really can't afford to lose a free Stalker like that. GuMiho is already preparing. He's scouted exactly what he's playing against. He doesn't know how big the commitment for Protoss is going to be, but he knows that it will be some sort of Blink opener. The only thing he needs to be worried about is really... sieging up out here seems crazy to me. Usually we see Terran sieging up a tank over here and then maybe one closer on the low ground to keep all of this alive, but he wants to get a free shot in on these Stalkers. Jumy, though, is gonna check. Jumy is not gonna do a blind move out, and he is going to see... oh, I mean, he didn't see the siege tanks. But he's going to see that the Terran player seems to be parked out. Well, in a location where they normally aren't. Okay, this is good. Hallucination did successfully bait the Cyclone out of position. He now sees the siege tank. Very quick reaction as well. Yeah, you don't have the numbers, though. With 3 siege tanks, you really can't blink in. If he could get high ground vision, though, I mean, this is a very nice area. That's exactly what he's hoping for right now. So we do have another hallucination moving across the map. Blink, though, is already starting to tick. Or, sorry, Stimpak is starting to tick. So we have the combat shields finishing up. Stimpak not too far behind. Plus, one infantry weapons is never going to finish up in time. At least not for this particular attack. Oh, this could be huge. This could be huge. But Jumy doesn't know that Terran is going for a full-on counterattack right now. It's... oh, the Stimpak does complete. Here we go. Now you will see that the Terran army is already at his front door. And there's nothing that he can do to really deal with it. One more? Yeah, that first series was a quick one. Spotted right here in the next best of 3. Playing with the blue Protoss pieces in the top right-hand corner of a map called Tokamak. We have none other than Jumy. I know, who would have guessed? His opponent, though, this time around, from Taiwan. Playing with the red Protoss pieces in the opposite corner. We have a Lemon. Lemon, likewise also, somebody that I don't really cast all too often, even though he's been getting really good at the game over the years. Let me actually have a quick little look. Where is he currently ranked according to a League? So he is currently considered to be the rank 56 in the world overall. But really, I feel like he started playing the game, and I'm sure he hasn't started around that time. But like the first time that Lemon really popped up on my radar was like maybe 2023 or so. There's quite a few. So it's difficult, right? Like if you look at the very best players in the world, they tend to be really good. GLHF Lemon. They tend to be really good at the game for a reason. They have put in a lot of time, they have grinded, well, thousands of games, and it's difficult to catch up. Like, how do you catch up to a Serral? Because Serral's still playing. Like, how do you do it? Well, you have two options, I guess. Either you can get better faster, or you can hope that the pro gamers at the very top get slower because of age or something. I don't really know. I feel like that's your best chance. So, it's difficult, right, to actually be able to beat them at their own game. So because of that, it's very easy to just keep on looking at the very best players, but there is like a younger generation that is slowly coming up. There's a bunch of guys that are like, I don't know exactly how old Lemon is, but I've got a feeling most of these players are like late teens, early 20s, and they have been getting dangerously good at the game in a short amount of time. Short meaning like 3, 4, 5 years or so, which at least in StarCraft land is relatively short. I know entire esports have come and gone in that period, but I mean, if you want to become really good at something, I want to say it takes at least 5 years in pretty much anything. Maybe with a lot of esports, well, something isn't around for that long yet, so you can kind of, you know, look really strong doing it. But if you look at like the first few years of StarCraft 2 competition, I mean, I do this sometimes where I go back to like early VODs of like 2010, 2011 or so. And I think it's fair to say that pretty much everybody sucked at the game. Like, don't get me wrong. At the time, it was considered very high level, but both Lemon and Jumy would absolutely destroy any of the guys in the early days. All right, anyways, we've got ourselves a Proxy gate. Oh, a Proxy Stargate, that is. And it's not been scouted. Now, that was very unlucky for Lemon, who is specifically looking for this sort of shenanigans. I mean, he's sending a probe back around. Oh, no. There's like a triangle of scouting going on here, and the Stargate somehow, some way is in the middle of the triangle. That is sad. There's no way, dude. All right, well, Oracle is coming up. We have a little bit of a dance over here, too. Yeah, look at that. There's one dark spot on the minimap in that section that he hasn't seen. There is a shield battery, however, coming up. And one Oracle is not going to be able to deal enough damage to really cut this. You need 2 Oracles to be able to one-shot a worker. So, did he notice? Lemon's like, maybe? I don't think he saw. That Oracle must have been within vision for like a 1/10 of a second. Good force field. Really lovely force field here. Lemon's going to be able to kill one of those Stalkers. Yeah, second Oracle is needed. So if the Oracles are fighting at the same time, right? They're firing and they're targeting the correct unit. Maybe Lemon did see. Yeah, I think he did see, actually. Okay, good for him. If you have them shooting at the same moment, the shield battery can't deal enough damage to, like, heal them up. But obviously, the shots do have to be in sync. Right over there, for example, we had one that was a little out of sync. Obviously, you have to kind of, like, minimize the range, right? So if you have one of your Oracles firing at maximum range, it means that you don't get the shots in unison, and 10 workers there. Despite the Stalkers, despite the shield battery, is really, really nice. Now, of course, what do? We fight fire with fire. Proxy pylon going up for Lemon, and in the meantime, in the main base, for some reason, in the middle of the mineral line, which doesn't hinder the mining at all, it just looks incredibly cursed, we have a Dark Shrine building here for Jumy. Jumy is hoping that he can force out some sort of all-in here out of his opponent, and so far, Lemon seems to be going for exactly that. Bunch of Stalkers get warped in, but there is absolutely no detection. What we do have, however, are hallucinated Stalkers. Okay. He's walking them in to try and set off the stasis wards. He does set off both of the stasis wards. The clock is ticking, though. You can't chrono boost a building Dark Shrine, but if he gets a bunch of DTs out, there is 0 detection here for Lemon, and he doesn't have any way to make any of it. No robo facility, which he really should be starting up, man, but no robo facility, no Stargate for him. He cannot make any detectors. He's winning the ground war, though. But what about the invisible men? We need to warp him in, though, Jumy. Okay, there's one coming. Where is it? Oh, there's one over here. I was gonna say, we're just warping it in right in the middle of battle. And right now, you can hear the sound effect as Lemon, and you realize that this is not something that you can technically beat. Now, you can out-micro it a little bit. Yeah, you might just be able to maximize the damage, but of course... Oh, I like this. He's walling him in. Blink is not yet finished either. I like the double pylon there. Still though, Lemon is now splitting up his Stalkers to try and maximize the damage. In the meantime, we have the Oracles going to town on the other side of the map. Apparently, stasis wards are no longer needed. The Dark Templar will be able to finish the job eventually. My god, these games are so feisty. Probes are still trying to long distance mine though. Looks like the Oracles have run out of energy, so they're gonna have to go back home for an energy recharge. The Dark Templar just can't be killed. Finally though, a robo facility is finishing up on the other side of the map, and that does mean that Lemon can start chrono boosting out, well, at least if he wants to, an observer. As the dust settles, Lemon really squeezed a lot of juice out of those Stalkers, sorry. We've got ourselves 32 workers remaining for him still, despite losing a lot to those Oracles earlier. He's killed so much damage, or he's done so much damage to the opponent's economy here. Now it's Jumy, who was hoping that his opponent was going to be forced into an all-in, who is effectively forced into an all-in himself. You can't fight this with 13 less workers, so Lemon just needs to chill. He's got an observer. I mean, you can snipe the observer and still get damage done. If Lemon could afford an immortal, that would be phenomenal. Oh, Oracle. Yes, the Oracle reveals, and he does kill the observer. New observer starts up. One Dark Templar, though, gets body blocked. He decides to target down the pylon right now to open up the door. Oracles jump on it too. Oh my god, this robo facility got unpowered by it as well. New pylon already coming up, though, for Lemon, and he is going to be able to get another observer out. Can we get a revelation on that one as well? Can we actually snipe that bad boy? I mean, at this point, the Dark Templar DPS itself is not to be underestimated. Ooh, okay. No, I think it's okay for Lemon, but it's still pricey. The low ground right now is being evacuated. Natural expansion is, of course, up for Jumy in the meantime on the other side of the map. And despite being in a really dangerous spot just about a minute ago, I think he has microed this into about the best possible scenario. Wow, what a game. Oh, I'm getting nerd chills here over a Protoss versus Protoss. Okay. Blink is done for Jumy. Blink starts up for Lemon. Third Nexus starts up right now as well for our German Protoss player. Whew. Difficult game to read though, right? For the both of them. But it's so interesting how we end up with a near even economy and a near even army. Like, as the dust settles, we have wildly different unit compositions, very different strategies, and we end up with almost identical situations for the both of them. Okay, we go back to a proxy pylon. Fair enough. We've done that a little bit already. Jumy doesn't really know, right? He really doesn't need to be aggressive, but he has the movement ability right now. And when you can't really be chased down because your opponent doesn't have blink, you may as well test the waters. Looks like we're going to test to see, though, if the opponent has taken a third. Not the case, because Lemon is going to try and continue fighting fire with fire. A little bit of a dance over here, but you're not going to win that. And you have to be careful here as Jumy for blink finishing up from the opponent. You never really know. He knows there's likely a Twilight Council. If he hasn't seen it, yeah, he has seen it. So he knows that there is a Twilight Council at this point. But you don't know when blink is going to finish up. And with blink, you can actually overextend and get chased. Proxy Gateway, though, on the other side of the map. Stargate is still up and running. Jumy is just going to use this as like a spotter for now to see if maybe a prism would go across the map. No prism available, though, for Lemon, who's really only used the robo facility here for observers, and that's it. Stalker is going to spot this. Big scout for Jumy. Question is it going to be in time? There's already a lot of Protoss here for Lemon moving out. For now, though, he's got the numbers, but keep in mind that Jumy did expand. And the Nexus, the additional probes, all of that is pricey. But he does have an Immortal, and Immortals are super good to have. The more Immortals, the better. Shield battery production has begun. And this is looking like a position that will become more and more difficult to break here for the Taiwanese Protoss as time goes by. So he needs to get a move on. Good force fields right there. Sentry does fall, but the force fields are going to force this army to back up for just a moment. Apparently, we're even confident enough to start up the +1 grounds. No charge available. PP, sorry, mom, go. That's what you know we're talking about a younger generation of pro gamers. Immortals, though, are here. Can we target them down? I mean, it's difficult to reach. Shield batteries are desperately keeping all of this alive. Jumy, can you pause the game? It's like, Mom, I'm online. You can't pause. Actually, hold up. You can pause the game. Third Immortal was available. And the longer that this goes on, the worse it is. Okay, here we go. Desperation blink in for Lemon. He targets 2 of the Immortals, and they do end up falling, but that's exactly why we have a few Zealots in the mix. Zealots don't really, well, have an easy time catching up to this type of army. But if, obviously, they blink into you, their damage is not to be underestimated. One of the Immortals, though, tries to live up to its name, does end up going down. Yeah, Zealot DPS is much higher, actually, than a Stalker, so difficult to get him into the fight. That's exactly why we have gone into the charge research, and a bunch of Dark Templar got warped into. Game number 1 goes in favor of Jumy. Next up, we find ourselves on the map Persephone. Little bit of build order variety, it looks like, as we're starting off with a double gate here for Jumy. Lemon going for a single gate. Single gate used to be quite popular. It's interesting. I feel like theoretically, single gate openers are really good in this matchup, but realistically, it's so easy to accidentally lose. For a long time, MaxPex, who's considered to be like the best player in PvP, he used to open up one gate expand every single game, and yet nobody else did it because it's really painful to play effectively. It's so easy to just accidentally mess this sort of thing up. Now, this is going to be a Stargate on the back of this. Obviously, the player with 2 gateways is going to be able to put on a lot of pressure, right? And if you make an expansion right now, you're just not going to have a lot of units. Now, I like this here. Jumy decides to pylon block, making it impossible for Lemon to really get a ton of value out of his 1 gate expand. I mean, at this point, you may as well have made a 2nd gate. You can just let the pylon finish if you want to, but now with a Stalker out, he may just, well, choose to not go ahead and do so. Yeah, cancels it. And he does start up a Nexus here, eventually. Okay. Already, though, the first couple units of Jumy are moving across the map. We have a Nexus right now here as well, building for him. No production out of the 2nd gateway. He's seen probably the Stargate, or at the very least, he knows the timing of the Nexus and the fact that it's a 1-gate expo, so he knows that this is more than likely going to be some sort of tech before a Nexus, and therefore, you can always expect that we will have a Stargate or some other shenanigans going across. Okay, shield battery now available here, though, for Lemon, and it is going to be pretty easy now to get away with this particular low ground expansion. No shield battery inside of the main base mineral line yet. Oracle is going in, as we have a Void Ray on the back of this. Okay. Void Ray is generally very good if you expect your opponent to go for like 1 base all-ins. Even Phoenixes are actually really nice in this matchup if you go for a 1 base all-in, because you lift up some of the important units. You will now see with this Oracle, oh, he face checks it. He will see that there is indeed a Nexus building on the other side of the map, and that's gonna at the very least put his worries to rest as we now go into a Twilight Council and then a Gateway 2. So when you know your opponent isn't immediately going to go for an all-in, it's not that big of a deal. But Void Rays are rarely an offensive unit in this matchup. They can be. Yeah, and I guess in this instance you may as well try, but usually you make them to defend. There's a lot of interesting moments, actually, in this matchup. I like PvP a lot. I think all of the mirror matchups in StarCraft 2 are really good. And I feel like at the very least the first series, or the first game in this series, made that pretty apparent. It can be highly entertaining. There's a lot of moments where, like, the key in this matchup to break your opponent's defense is to have enough Stalkers to be able to one-shot a Void Ray, because the shield batteries can so rapidly regenerate stuff. Love this pylon here for Jumy. He is gonna lose it. Oh. Oh, jeez. Today I learned that apparently you can out-DPS a healing shrine. Alright, there we go. With an Oracle like that. It depends, I guess, on the unit, right? But still fun to see. Obviously, the way that the healing shrines work is that they heal up hit points. They heal up health, not shields. So it gets a little bit messy. Void Ray is going to accidentally intercept this as well. Lemon, though, isn't even really going to bother trying to shoot it down. No point. He knows that it's going to shade away in time. It's the third Nexus now, coming up as well. The healing shrine on this particular map, by the way, does have a air blocker. So this is the first time, the first season in StarCraft 2 that we've had maps that feature, well, some sort of healing shrines in the first place. And initially it was discussed that maybe it would be too good for flying units to get healed. So instead what we've got is a healing shrine, but only for ground units. So Oracles can't jump in there, and clumped up Skytals in general is not going to be able to get it done. Okay, does Jumy have enough to break through this? I don't know, man. This is one of the downsides, right? When you just play that delayed expansion of your own and you just open up with, oh, here we go, big blink forward. You just don't have as many units. Lemon really now showing us what can happen if you get that slightly earlier economy going. Even though he hasn't really done a lot of damage, he's only killed 4 probes. He still gets just more stuff over time because his expansion is quicker. Now suddenly, it is up to Lemon to maybe go in for a counterattack. He does start up a Forge in the meantime. There is still no robo facility or anything like that ready to go, but we can start targeting down pylons with ease. Blink is done for both players though, so the dance is dangerous. Void Ray there, by the way, the one that provided the high ground vision. There is one shield battery inside of the main and in the natural. There's also one over at the third, but if you fight over here, I mean, that will suit Lemon just fine. He doesn't have an easy way to reinforce. That's his main concern right now. He doesn't have a way to reinforce. Jumy starts up a 4th Nexus, which I think in his mind is his only way to really like catch up in the economical part of this game. He needs to be careful though, because that's an expensive structure to be building right now. And this is, for all intents and purposes, a bit of a strange all-in right now for Lemon, who does lose the Void Ray, but it came at the cost of a lot of Stalkers that aggressively decided to position themselves. Lemon is just adding on additional gateways. He's got a ton of resources in the bank right now, too. There is no way for him to easily reinforce this, though, but the Oracle, it has already sucked the energy out of the shield battery, and it's going to continue working on all of those probes. And I think that this is, well, the end of the game for Jumy. No way he's going to be able to stop the flood now. It's a little bit odd when you go for an all-in like this without a proxy gate or, for example, a warp prism, but Lemon can reinforce this fast enough, and GG does get cold. Lemon leaving a sour taste in the opponent's mouth. Okay, no, I'm sorry. No. All right, Cybercore coming up right here. This series is going to get wrapped up on ley lines. Final game for today. Final game in this best of 3. Let's see. Looks like this time around, by the way, it will be a double gate for the both of them. The nice thing about double gate is that it's just nice and safe, right? Like, it's just way more comfortable. Even though technically one gate expands are really, really strong, it is so easy for things to accidentally slip up. Now, it does feel kind of like a solvable puzzle. So technically, right, when you open up with a 1 gate, there's about 6 dozen viable counters that your opponent can go for. And technically, you could grind out every single one of those scenarios and then figure out what the perfect response is and try to do that every single time, even though obviously you will have less units. The problem is mostly that it's hard, and you may as well just go for a double gate start instead. Nexus coming up. Expansions, though, getting blocked on either side. And this will get cancelled. 75 minerals are returned to Lemon's bank, and Jumy is going to be able to start up a Nexus of his own. Now, obviously, if you can get away with a much faster expansion and your opponent doesn't really address it, obviously you will find yourself at a really, really nice advantage. But that is the case in any game of StarCraft, right? If you can get, well, a ton of workers out in a game against Zerg, Terran, or Protoss, doesn't really matter. you can ultimately outproduce them, and trading becomes a lot less important, right? Like, you just don't have to micro your units as much. Anyway, Proxy once more here as an option for Jumy at the very least, but he also knows that the opponent is going for Phoenixes. And Hallucinated Phoenixes can technically scout everything. One of the tricky parts here, and obviously players at this level are counting the amount of pylons they see on the other side of the map. If you see in this instance here as Lemon that the opponent indeed is lacking a pylon in the main base, that might give you all of the information that you really need. Hallucinated Stalkers. I love Hallucinated Stalkers so much. Hallucinations in general in StarCraft 2 are so cool. Oh, we're doing hallucinations on both sides. My army is bigger than yours. Just kidding. We both have a terrible army. Still, though, some nice targeting here by Jumy, who's trying to break through this position, but he's losing all of his sentry in the process. Obviously, though, that proxy pylon is coming in clutch, as he's able to reinforce this, and the target firing here from our German player is really, really good. He's figured out as well that this Stalker over here is fake. The only way you can figure that out is just by, well, I guess the way your opponent has positioned it and the fact that it doesn't deal any damage. Another warp-in is going to complete, though, and now Lemon realizes what in the world has been going on in this game so far. It's a slow warp-in, so there's no gateway attached to the pylon, meaning that, or a nexus attached to the pylon, meaning that you only ever get the slow warp-in. Blink, though, coming up for the both of them, and Lemon's blink is going to be a little bit quicker. Shield battery is nice, but he doesn't have the numbers at the moment. Shield battery now getting targeted as well. There is a backup pylon. Two more of the Stalkers, though, do appear. He's trying to micro forward and gets a bunch of the Stalkers here, too. Keep in mind that Jumy still has an expansion as well, right? So this is by no means an all-in for him. As a matter of fact, I think this is mostly going to end up being a bit of a wash, where both players just end up losing a whole lot of stuff. And ultimately, we end up with, yeah, very similar scenarios. Look at that. 6 Stalkers and 2 sentries versus 7 Stalkers and 3 sentries. So, was this worth it for Jumy? I got a handful of probes. I don't think it's ideal, though. Third Nexus right now on the back it is. However, obviously Lemon is going to have an opportunity to be aggressive of his own. He now has that slight little blink advantage, although he doesn't know it. Blink is seconds away right now as well for Jumy, so he's going to be able to finish it up in just a moment. Missed the blink. We got to keep the blinky boys going. Yeah, and when both armies can teleport short distances, it does make everything messy again, as we have another proxy pylon. How many proxies have we seen throughout these games? Every game, I think, has featured multiples. Anyway. Just a little pylon. I mean, ultimately, this is kind of like a supply depot that you can use to reinforce units with, right? I mean, you may as well. Forge coming up for Jumy. Obviously, when you're both making the same units, any upgrade is huge. And these upgrades are not technically too expensive. Fourth Nexus already coming up as well. Charge on the back it is for Lemon, who's been prioritizing a little bit more tech. So that Immortal is out, and Immortals are really, really nice. There's no Robo facility yet, actually, for Jumy. So that's actually something to keep in mind here, right? Because you can always get caught off guard against Dark Templar. Jumy instead, though, almost just face-checking his opponent a little bit. It's difficult as Lemon here to transition to anything else when you're under this much pressure. So in a very strange way, it's possible to scout your opponent just by constantly face-checking them like this. Gets 2 Stalkers, not bad. And obviously as Lemon now, you're going to be forced to spend your money on defenses. I love these 2 Adepts. Adepts do shade around as well. Handful of probes only, but they have real potential. One of the Immortals is going to get sniped. Stalkers are not going to be far behind either. Obviously Blink is going to be available again right now. Yep. So we get out. Good movement here by Jumy. In the meantime, the 4th Nexus has been bought and paid for. +1 is finishing up for all of the Protoss units. At least all of the Protoss units that he's got. Robo Facility right now, together with a Templar Archives. Okay. Templar Archives in this matchup, generally just for Archon production. So Archons deal damage in a little splash radius. Obviously their range is really short, but they're phenomenal against Zealots. So just mixing in a couple of Archons, it makes the Zealots a lot less scary. Zealots, though, in the meantime, obviously really quite good against this type of army here. So if you get Stalkers and Immortals, I mean, Stalkers and Immortals are phenomenal against the opponent's Stalkers. But then obviously Charge is going to be able to shut them down. So you get this really interesting mix of units. These days, we don't see as much Disruptor play anymore. Disruptor's not as popular lately, at least not in the PvPs that I've seen. For a long time, actually, it was mostly just Stalker Disruptor. Or at least that was what a lot of games ended up in. Charge, though, is a very, very dangerous weapon. Okay, both players get up to 4 bases. Lemon trying to send out a little bit of a run-by squad, and this is a dangerous group of units, but it's also a significant chunk of his actual army supply. So this is going to deal quite a bit of damage. Recall is going to be used, though, and the majority of the Protoss army here is indeed going to go home. Immediately, Lemon, upon seeing it, decided to also, well, run away. Does he actually have the time to indeed get out of this position? It looked like only a handful of the Zealots will indeed get intercepted. 5th Nexus starts up. Okay. Lemon is going to be able to get an easy cancel on that if he decides to warp in a handful of units. I'm assuming that was spotted, right? There's no way it wasn't. Jumy, though, starting up a photon cannon as well. Dark Templar run-bys, by the way, also become a very real possibility, as both players, somehow, some way, have passed each other by. Warp, or Recall, rather, for Jumy is on cooldown. Lemon is gonna be able to use it if he wants to, but at this point, I don't know if that really is the plan. I think we are trying to see who can raise the opponent's base the fastest. Nexus all the way up north ends up going down. Zealots are warped in inside of the main base of Jumy. We have a ton of the Zealots also wrecking a 3rd Nexus there for the Protoss player in blue. 3rd Nexus in the meantime is going down as well on the other side of the map. 4th base is already gone, and suddenly the entire mini-map is blinking with action all over. Jumy's supply count is still looking good, but ultimately the win condition in a game of StarCraft 2 is to destroy your opponent's structures. Nothing matters. Already, Jumy is starting up a new Nexus all the way in the top left-hand corner. Lemon does not have any probes out on the map, I don't think. As a matter of fact, does he have any? Nope. Literally 0 workers remain right now for Lemon, and I think he just realized that as well. He decides to go all the way back, and maybe he can pick off some of these structures or units of the opponent. Yeah, he's cutting them off. I like that movement there from Lemon a lot. Now he needs to go, though, into his own main base. And that is where the final structure was located. Brilliant bit of chaos right there to wrap these games up. Very fun series. Lemon, by the way, he didn't type GG because the game ended. Like, you can't type GG after the game ended. Usually the way that it goes is you type GG and then you leave the game. But in this particular instance, the actual win condition of StarCraft 2 was triggered. All of the structures were destroyed, and therefore the game just ended right away.